Hey everyone, I'm Norm. Welcome to Breaking Back, a tennis podcast by fans, for fans, covering all aspects of the game with an unfiltered lens. And I'm here with my co-hosts, Peter and Chris. Welcome to Breaking Back.
Welcome to Breaking Back, presented by Portland, Maine's Lone Pine Brewing Company and their latest release, New Age White Ale, the perfect beer for the cold weather season. Lightly carbonated with subtle banana and pine notes, New Age has a gently sweet and lightly bitter flavor at just 5.1% ABV. Grab a six-pack and enjoy everything winter in New England with a New Age White Ale. Thank you, Lone Pine.
Cheers, Peter.
Cheers. Salute.
And you, Chris.
Little seltzer.
With your bubbly.
Hi, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Yeah, somebody's got to drive the podcast.
Good to be seen.
I have to be.
Someone's got to drive. Yeah, we need a
That's right.
designated driver.
The podcast responsibly.
All right, so should we just start with the lead, with the big burning lead of, what is it, Garin, and what's the other player's
Well,
name?
we have two big stories that we're covering live here.
Breaking news.
Breaking news on Breaking Back. Number one, there's the pillow fight between Cristian Garin and Zizou Bergs that occurred in the Davis Cup on Sunday. That has set the tennis world ablaze.
They're having a pillow fight in their underwear.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we shouldn't be that critical of one of the players. It's really more Garin.
Yeah, clearly. So that's one story, and then the other one that's just breaking as we're rolling into the studio, Portland, is that Simona Halep has just lost in her home country of Romania. She got a wild card into an event, and afterward announced her retirement from tennis.
Wow. How old is she?
33 years old.
Say how young?
Two-time Grand Slam champion.
Right.
Once famously, her first one was against Serena Williams in the 2019 Wimbledon final. Phenomenal match. She played like absolutely flawless. I had like 3 unforced errors or some crazy stat. But another victim of doping, and
Sinner.
Boy.
off court for like 2 years, and decided no bueno, can't really.
I have
continue.
to say, if you're gonna dope, just don't get caught, because you lose. The players aren't like, I don't get any joy watching Jannik Sinner play, knowing that he could possibly be doping, and if he hadn't gotten caught, that's partially why Lance Armstrong was able to build that mystique, because he didn't get caught until he admitted that he did it. He was never busted.
What was the delta in time between the end of his career and when he
admitted on Oprah?
Yeah.
Probably between 5 and 10 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely for some legal things to not come back to him. I know he had to. I know statute of limitations played into it. But I mean, I'm being somewhat facetious, but at the same time, that athletes in sports are going to take performance-enhancing drugs to some degree, either legally or illegally. The ones that do it illegally, my only advice is don't get caught, because once someone finds out that you do it, it takes all the fun out of being a fan.
Yeah.
I don't care if you do it. Just don't get caught.
And it
Like, I'd love to root for Jannik Sinner, but it's like, he's probably doping. It's like so boring. He's gonna kill everybody.
It also ruins your legacy, like, entirely, right?
Right.
I have 2 friends. One who suffers from multiple sclerosis, another who had testicular cancer, and they had this awesome fundraiser. And half the money, it was a big golf event, half the money always went to the Live Strong campaign.
Right.
And I remember how crushed this guy was to find out, like, this, his hero, right? Like, his kind of inspiration for all this was a cheater. I mean, like the whole thing kind of like just stopped happening. He stopped the event, and that's like one little like grain of sand.
It's such a bummer. Like no matter what Lance Armstrong does to try and revive his image, he's
can't do it.
Forever,
Tainted.
forever tainted. And he's probably he's probably possibly become a slightly better human being as a result of it, but that's really the only thing that you can.
And it's cheating. I would say just cheating, but I feel like there are people who have done far worse.
He did some stuff though that was really, really. He did some cruel things.
Yeah,
he did a lot of things legally to people, and he just wasn't. He didn't handle it. Above board at all. Behind the scenes.
So let's think about Halep, though. I mean, she, I don't know much about the case. I've got to go back and read through it. It's been a while, but she served her time and she was fighting to come back, and she just started having injury, and all of a sudden, like, poof, she's just a footnote of
did she lose?
Now.
I mean, if she loses sponsorship and support financially, if she can't generate the prize money, I mean, isn't it just she's just suffering from challenger syndrome? Where I only have so much in the kitty. Why throw it all out the window to invest into getting myself back into what ranking when I'm not going to get back to the top? I'm 33. Well, do I just go to coaching and try and make money there?
That was kind of team's conclusion, right? Like Dom Team, one-time COVID U.S. Open champion, who he got hurt, just couldn't come back from it, and he gave himself 1 year, couldn't do it, and was like, I'm done.
Well, it also seems like if you want to be a coach in the sport, there's a certain window of opportunity that you have to take advantage of there as well.
Sure. Well, you still know people.
You can't, if you step out for 4 or 5 years, the churn, the different players in the game, not just the players themselves, but their coaches, their family. It's such a family-oriented sport. The dad or the mom, because the players come up when they're in their teens. They're still very heavily involved in their management to a degree, I would imagine, unless they're players that have been sent off to Nick Bollettieri when they were 12 years old and they've been put through that system. But how many are in the pros that come through that? I mean, there's a lot more than you'd think, but still.
So interesting, as we're coming on
breaking news
the air here. But back to Cristian Garin, our I think it's the craziest
Garin, the flopper.
The flopper. So for our listeners and our viewers, today we're actually doing a video pod. So thank you, studio, for hooking us up with some video, and we'll see how it turns out. But for those of you who have not heard about this scandalous incident, on Sunday it was the last day of the Davis Cup tie between Chile and I don't even know where this dude's from. Belgium, yeah. Zizou.
So Garin's from Belgium.
No relation to Steve Zizou.
Bergs, Belgium. Cristian Garin from Chile.
From Chile, right. So
these guys from Chile. Okay.
They're playing a match. It's Bergs had won the first set. Garin was up in the second 5-4. And Bergs starts to come back, and they play this really tight game at 5-all. Bergs hits an incredible shot to win the point, and he's so excited. He sprints around the net to go to his bench, and he bumps into Cristian Garin, who falls down on the court, like somebody in a Saturday matinee over in the Premier League.
Like an Argentinian soccer player.
It was as far as flops go, it was a poor flop.
It was a terrible flop. He kind of like sat down and then rolled backwards.
I don't think tennis players are known for flopping.
No, I mean, it was an incidental.
It was very weird.
Accident. Yeah. The guy, Bergs, immediately was apologetic, trying to like ameliorate the situation. And Garin was having none of it. So the chair umpire called out the doctor, who checked him out, looked at his eye, a little red from like getting a shoulder to the face. But I mean, no worse than getting an overhead, to your midsection or a volley off your face in a doubles match. Like happens all the time.
It didn't look.
And nobody cries about it or goes down or asks to like default the opponent. But that's what happened in this match. And luckily, Sanity prevailed. The doctor said, "You're not injured. You can keep playing." And he refused and was therefore, point penalty, game penalty, and defaulted from the match. Bergs wins.
That he'd already lost anyway.
No, he was down. He was serving to stay in the match.
It was 6-5.
Okay,
was down
that's a
6-5.
key point.
Yeah.
I glossed over that when I read the article. I apologize.
Right. But he was trying to steal.
All right, so
steal
he
one.
was trying to fight to stay in, but he wasn't. I should correct myself. He wasn't trying to fight to stay in.
Right.
He just refused to play, but wanted to be awarded the game because of
The whole
bad
match.
sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weak.
Yeah.
I will say in Garin's
Very
defense, Bergs runs right through him. Bergs has zero court awareness, and so he does. In his defense, he does run sort of right through him. But I don't think you should be going down that hard and acting on the ground like you'd been shot. And
I don't think that it was on purpose, though. I think it was just he had bad sort of spatial awareness.
right, terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I've seen some stuff where the person's, run into the other person and tried to make it look like they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't this.
Yeah. And well, they were playing in his native country, right? So the fans went ape shit when he ripped that forehand from deep behind the baseline. Garin was the net. He pulled it past him. It was an incredible angle. And he just, sprinted over there.
Right.
Super fired up. Actually, as I'm reading the notes here, I'm realizing that they had split sets. So it was the third set where this happened.
yeah, 6-5 in the third.
6-5. It was 5-all in the third. Bergs won that game, went up 6-5.
Went up at the break.
And then got the game through penalty and won the match. So that's how it happened. But they refused to back off on this, the Chileans, and they're saying nobody has apologized to us. Nobody's asked how he's feeling, if he's okay. And,
He apologized to him on the court. He was trying to go up to him and say, "Hey, buddy, you okay? I'm sorry I did that."
in real time.
In real time. What else do you want? Do you want the head of Belgium to contact the Chilean?
Yeah, it's an international incident. Yeah, I mean, this is
No, isn't that what the Chilean said? It was an international. I mean, come on.
So what's the fallout? And
I mean, let's be honest. We're the only people really talking about it.
No, we're not. That's what I'm saying. It's all over. It's all over the interwebs.
What's the fallout since? And are there larger ramifications for?
I don't think
tennis?
so. Just the fact that
Rule changes. or
Belgium
anything?
advances
Belgium
in
advanced,
the
right.
qualifier, and Chile's not going to the Davis Cup.
right.
So it's a big deal. Sorry, Chile.
Yeah. Yeah, they earned a flight back to Australia to play them,
I always
the
think of
Aussies in the
quote
next
from
round.
There's Something About Mary. Who goes to Santiago, Chile twice in 1 year?
Cristian Garin.
And what are these guys ranked? Would you think? Do you have any idea?
Oh, yeah. Bergs is ranked 61 and Garin is
Top 100.
ranked 132.
Okay.
I mean, literally, he's half as good as the other guy at the moment.
Gotcha.
But man, Garin's made $6.1 million in his career.
So where was this match again? This match was in Belgium?
Yeah.
In Belgium.
Interesting. Okay, can we talk about how Madison Keys is not allowed to play in I'm not sure the name of the Open. I know it's in Austin, Texas.
Oh, the Dallas Open.
ATX Open?
No, the ATX Open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
She's
ranked
not
too
allowed
high
to play
now?
because so they only take one top 10 seed for the tournament. And because she won the Australian Open, she's now ranked in the top 10, but they only allow one top 10 player.
It's the
Talk
stupidest
about
thing I've ever
shooting
heard of.
yourself in the foot. I mean, you want as
Aren't
many
you trying to sell tickets?
top players as you can get.
And it happens to be an American woman, right? Who
And
everybody loves.
when was the last time an American woman won the Australian Open?
Been a while.
Been a minute.
Yeah. Gosh. I have to go back in the Wayback Machine.
We'd have to-
Serena.
So do
have
they
to
pay
Google
a
that.
talent fee to have them there? I don't understand.
Well,
Is
no,
there
the
something
rules
underlying that
the
we don't know
rules
about?
won't let it because that's just some. Is
need
it
to
the
rewrite
is
the
it
rules.
the WTA rule that there's not allowed to be more than 2 top 10 players in the seeding at a certain period of time when they lock down the players for the tournament. And because she won the Aussie, she disqualified herself of participating in that
It
tournament.
needs to be the
Which she was
Madison
scheduled
Keys
to
rule.
she was scheduled to play in, because before the Australian Open she was 16th roughly in the world.
Madison.
Yes.
Yeah. She's been coming on. She's had a good year.
Right.
But for somebody to sneak up and win a slam like that is really
That's
unusual,
huge.
especially
Yeah.
for somebody who's like as
Well,
old. I'm saying that in air quotes because she's like 28, right? Not
Well,
old.
and Sabalenka is a strong player.
Very
Yeah,
strong.
as was Swiatek and Svitolina and everyone she went through to get there. Like,
Exactly.
she had murderers row.
Well, nobody had
God.
Madison Keys on their bingo card as winning the Australian Open. That's for sure.
No, I think some
She beat
people had her
Rybakina.
getting, winning a few rounds, maybe getting the round of 16 and quarters. But, she played Swiatek in the semis, right?
Semis, yep.
And Iga is, to me, like she and Sinner are a great pair because they're so kind of detestable. They're not fun to watch,
Right.
and she's kind of proven to be a little bit of a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to the Olympics when Danielle Collins had to get in her grill, came across the net and gave her a piece of her mind. But in this match,
That wasn't what she was doing in this tournament when she walked to the net and told the other player to slow down.
well, she left the court after they split sets, and it was Maddie's serve. And of course, the serve is supposed to move. The game is supposed to move at the pace of the server.
Right.
She's ready to go, and Iga comes back from the bathroom, turns her back to. She goes to the baseline, turns her back to Keys.
right, and she was
starts like
doing her
shadow.
warm-up.
Yeah, like doing some shadow.
right.
Hitting like to get her feet going and kind of lock in again. And if I was Keys, I just would have like hit a nice little underhand serve while she was turned around and gone to 15 love. But anyway, not a fan of Iga, who was working on her image before the event, very publicly working out with Sabalenka, and they're doing videos of them, doing some training drills and clearly trying to draft on Sabalenka's popularity. But I digress.
Well, if we're going to talk about image, we have to talk about Djokovic.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Let's jump into the Australian Open.
Yeah, Australian Open. We are, starting on all cylinders at once here. It was a year ago. A year ago, we started the pod with our Australian Open recap.
Yes, we
That's right.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Here we are again, episode 10.
It was the Kyrgios show last year, unlike this
It
year.
was. Yeah. I mean,
he just
which is one of my
came in
takeaways.
with a lot of wind behind him, but he crapped out pretty fast.
first round. Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And then disappeared.
Completely. I mean, he wasn't on the coverage for ESPN. They announced that before the event, and he didn't do any local coverage that I'm aware of. And oddly, it would have been the best year for him because they were struggling mightily with.
Speaking of Joker, yeah.
I wonder if he had to sign something with his sponsors that said he wouldn't do that if he chose to play.
Maybe.
Unlike our friend Brad
Conflict
Gilbert.
of interest, right.
But
what's his problem? It's his home tournament, right?
Or he
And
made
he's
the
so
choice
adored.
to.
He's so adored there.
Right.
And did you watch him play? Did you see what a joke he was?
Yeah.
he didn't really do anything.
Terrible. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
I mean, he was doing the underhand serves and on the same play, then doing the behind the back. He was just fucking off the whole time. I'm like,
Yeah. No, it's like, well, if
he's
I don't
just like
try,
not taking it very seriously.
if I don't try and I lose, then I can't say, no one can say that I was, the worst player. They can say I was fucking off or whatever, but that's about all they can do. And then he announced afterward, well, this could be the last time I ever play singles here or play this event and cry me a river. And I don't know. It was,
weird.
a weird, kind
was.
of terrible showing.
Did he play singles and doubles?
He did. They lost. I think they won a couple matches in the doubles before
They did? Okay.
they lost. Yeah.
Well, and then the controversy with the Australian press and how, Ben Shelton called out
Yeah.
his interviewer, and then Djokovic called out, well, he flat out wouldn't do the post-match interview because he felt that he was being trolled by that other interviewer. And I just think it's kind of I don't know.
Weak.
Well, did you
I
see
think
how
it's
that went
kinda-
down?
Yeah, I think it's kind of weak.
The guy's name was Tony Jones, the Australia media, and he was sort of up above the crowd.
He was-
and all the crowds were doing like an anti-Joker chant, but as a listener, you couldn't hear what the fans were chanting.
was kinda
so he was
repeating
just
it.
repeating. I thought
Yeah.
Tony Jones, he was just repeating what the fans were saying. I didn't think he was agreeing what they were saying or celebrating
didn't
it
get that
or
he
like
was-
embellishing it.
Yeah.
So why Joker overreacted to the point he did, I don't understand. But then
Well, because he's
Tony
very
Jones made a
sensitive.
public apology to Joker and his entire camp and team and everything. And then Joker wouldn't do any of the post-match interviews because
Right.
of the Tony Jones guy. I
Well,
mean, it's just a
from what I saw, there were a number of Serbian fans behind. This is where ESPN or this station had been set up to do their coverage, and there were a bunch of Serbian flags in the background, and it looked like he was kind of engaging with the Serbian fans and saying, blah, blah, he's the worst, he's not
Yeah.
any good, right? Kind of trolling
sort
them.
of tongue-in-cheek, I
Totally.
thought.
And then the next thing you know, Djokovic is like, you've slandered my country and my people. I'm not talking to you, you know?
I thought the Djokovic angle, his treatment, I thought is again very weak, unfounded, a bit sensitive. Ben Jazzercise Shelton,
Yeah.
well, he does. He's got that
The headband and
the headband in the watermelon
Wife
blue
Right.
sleeveless kit.
The
that
on,
is just
yeah.
not. It's just not. No, he looks like a smoothie. I mean, it's just bad.
It's terrible.
But I watched his interview and where he gets all defensive, and I just thought that was kind of weak also because I chalked it up more as just Australian humor.
Yeah.
And they're rowdy, fun people. They like to sort of take the piss out of things.
Yeah.
I think
That's their culture.
I think the media is catching these players at the wrong time too, right? I mean, this is the first Grand Slam of the year. They've been training all quote unquote off season for this, and the slander, I guess, they didn't take very well at all because Ben Shelton came to Joker's defense, which I was surprised at.
I was very surprised.
And then he referenced 3 or 4 comments that were anti-Ben Shelton, saying like, "How does it feel to be hated in front of the Australian crowd?" I was like, "Well, I don't think I'm hated by the entire crowd. I mean, maybe the majority of the crowd,
But
but
that's such a sensitive thing. It's like he's just trying to sort of create some banter in an interview to have some fun, and but and maybe it works because he responds in a way that's we're talking about. But he could have fun with it.
yeah,
He's just they're not trying to be serious.
Right.
It's just Australians are just they like to just poke a little fun.
They're Australians."
Yeah.
He did get to the semis in his defense and lost in straight sets to Sinner, but that's good to at least see him get all the way to the semis and to see 3 American women in the Sweet 16 or the quarterfinals,
Totally.
round of 16.
Yeah, there's now 4
unbelievable.
American women in the top 10, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whether American tennis can no longer be
Right.
the lead in for a lot of these shows.
I would say, speaking of, my biggest takeaway by far of the Australian Open was the youth movement and the next generation up on the heels of, and I'm going to butcher his name, Gail Monfils. Gail
Monfils.
Monfils. It's Monfils. Beating Shelton.
Is he tired? Is
Or
he
no,
retired?
he beat Shelton.
He did
He's
retire.
38.
I think he's retired once, maybe twice. He's never had a coach.
Right.
But man, that guy plays with like such joy. And if you ever see videos of him dancing like off the court, it
he's
is
great.
electric. It's,
He's
Yeah,
also
he
a big,
is.
he's a big watch collector.
is he?
He is. He actually has a whole Instagram account of nothing but like his watches and stuff.
4:37. Chris works in the watch.
It's 36 minutes later than I thought I was going to.
No, everybody loves Monfils. Well, he won. He's the week before he won in Auckland, New Zealand, becoming I think the oldest player ever to win an ATP event.
Yep.
Which was phenomenal. I mean, it wasn't like he had like a cakewalk of a draw. I forget who he played in the finals, but he played great, and he took out Fritz at the Australian Open.
And took out Ben Shelton.
He has that very
And,
animated overhead slam jump that he does. He kind of does a scissor kick, like an Edward. He has this sort of weird Eddie Van Halen scissor kick thing.
Well, he's so lanky, and he
He
just
is.
knows how to.
Yeah, is he
leverage his
6'2",
body.
6'3"? He looks like he's pretty tall.
He's tall. Yeah.
So he's 38, right, beating kids like Ben Shelton. But the takeaway to me was the first one in particular was the 18-year-old Brazilian upstart João Fonseca beating number 9 Rublev, and not only beating him, dismantling him mentally. I thought Rublev
We
was going
checked
to
on
explode on the court. I mean, as every time he loses, I feel like Rublev is going to
Yeah.
take somebody out with him.
Those guys were hitting the ball hard.
Oh
in that
yeah,
match.
and that was a straight set loss for Rublev.
Yeah.
And then this 19-year-old Mensik took out number 6 Rude. And then you had the American Lerner Teen, who had an incredible tournament. So the future is bright.
What's the highest
for
Rublev's
tennis.
ever been ranked? Like 8th, 7th, 8th?
Yeah, he's like, I mean, he's 9 now. I mean, he's not. He's still in the top 10.
No, I know, but he's like never gotten above the 5th
yeah,
spot.
no.
He's like a solid 5 to 10 spot
Yeah,
player.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's why I mean, the poor guy. Do we have like we should do a segment, Where is Rublev today? just to do a simple mental health check.
Right. And then last thing on this topic is that you still have Alcaraz at just 21 and Sinner at 23, who aren't even in their prime yet. I mean, it's insane. I feel
And
like
doping.
the talent. Right.
Rublev's highest ranking was number 5.
Nice.
Okay, so
But he stayed in the top 10 for
but
like
he's
4
been
years.
in the top 10 for years.
Yeah. But think about that. Like, the difference between you're one of the top 10 athletes in your sport on the planet and you've maxed out. You're never going to get beyond like number 5, right?
Well,
It's
how
such
long do you
rarefied
play
air.
until you decide that you're done? I mean, how old is
As long
is
as the
Rublev?
paychecks.
How old is he?
He's like in his early 30s, maybe.
Where's our intern when we need
I know
he or
He's-
she?
Oh, he's only 26.
Oh, okay.
Dang, man, that guy's lived a lot. His face does not look like a 26-year-old.
No, certainly
It's
doesn't.
like he's had some serious troubles in his time.
Ridden
but-
hard and put away wet, as my mom would say, which is not a good thing. Horse racing term.
That's not what you want. How you want to be described. But he looks like that. Maybe 5 minutes into every match, he's like
Yeah.
sweating and
Yeah.
wanting to slice his skin.
But
with
man,
his
the Joker,
magic.
He's
the
very,
Joker
very-
Alcaraz match in the quarterfinals was just as compelling as they get. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. I woke up at 4:30 to watch it. I believe it was on at 4:30. That's another hard thing about the Australian Open is the timing is pretty rough. But Alcaraz mocking Joker after he got injured or quote unquote injured, hurt, which he was very tight-lipped about, and then. I think we were talking, Norm. Alcaraz was sort of like limping like an old man around his bench.
He looked over.
Like
he
mocking
was like
at
a
him.
kid, right? He looked around. And he was like, "I'm gonna do this. Is anybody looking? Ha
Right.
ha ha!" And then
Yeah.
Joker looked over, and he was kind of like, "What the fuck?" But I thought to me that point really underscored how much Joker is in his head, right?
No doubt.
He's got Juan Carlos and the whole team on the court. Like this year in the Australian Open, right? They're actually in the corner on the court, not up in the stands. So every third game they're walking around. He's over there talking to him, and he couldn't keep his feet, or his head, on the ground. And Djokovic, won that 4th set and. It was it. I mean, it was a shocking result, but it was by far, I thought, the most entertaining, engaging match of the tournament.
And then for Joker post-match to say, I wish this had been in the final, I thought was extremely candid. Probably the nicest thing I heard Joker say all tournament, because it was complimentary to Alcaraz as someone he's going to have to be beating here the next year or two at the tail end of his career.
But then he had to throw up his MRI of his hamstring.
Right.
To prove.
Yeah,
that
I really
he-
was injured.
Which is, I don't know. Like,
First of all,
is that really your hamstring? Is it really your MRI?
and what is it? I couldn't tell what it was really showing.
Yeah, I can get you an MRI. I can get you a fake one. I mean, seriously, like, just because it's like that could be the biggest rope-a-dope disinformation campaign going.
Could be. That's a European thing, I think. Like you need like a doctor's note to get out of work in Europe, and I think that it's pretty effective in my experience.
I can't get back to my house in Monte Carlo unless I prove that I'm really injured.
The last thing about Joker for me is, did Andy Murray do any coaching whatsoever? Because, and I didn't watch as much Australian Open as I would like to due to the time change.
Yeah,
but
I said Roddick, I meant
every
Murray.
match I watched, they're hardly even getting eye contact. Joker's never even acknowledging Murray, and Murray's just sitting there like a bump on a log. I thought on the corner of the court, like
It was weird. It was not
Well,
like
they're not allowed to
organic
coach, right?
and natural.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, they are. Oh, I thought
And
they
they're
weren't
sitting
allowed
from me to you, to your point, and they're now in the corner. They're like they can whisper
Right.
to each other. They're the proximity is zero.
What was interesting though is after that match, Joker sprinted over to his box or the corner, and he like has this awkward kind of bro hug with Andy Murray, something like I would do. And he ignores like his Serbian like homies. He didn't even like look at him. He'd been screaming at him the whole match and arguing and fighting, but he was like he wanted to really show like Andy, you're my guy, and then poof, that was it.
Yep.
Didn't play.
Very weird, man.
I just can't
Weird
support
individual.
the Djokovic,
No.
the Joker.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Well, we'll see what happens. Now I think he's out right until probably close to Wimbledon, but who cares? I mean, he's not chasing a ranking. He's just and at Wimbledon
He wants
they do
number
have
8.
they can kind of massage the seedings. They don't necessarily follow the ATP rankings, the live rankings. So he can, as long as he gets like a top 4 seed, which the guy's been a finalist for I don't know how many years in a row.
Right.
He'll be right back there. I mean, he did it last year on one knee. He can train, get ready for, and not worry about the clay season, right?
Yep.
It sets him up kind of well for success. I think all he cares about is getting that 25th slam, and if it's at Wimbledon, I don't know that he'll retire, but I think he'd be thinking hard about it if he can get that.
It's close. It's close. He knows he's close too.
He wants to match Federer's record and either beat it or at least match it.
Well, no, he's already eclipsed Federer. He's chasing Serene's
No,
tie
for 8 Wimbledon wins.
Oh, yeah. You're right. He wants a statue. Potentially, like Rafa's got a statue at Roland Garros.
Right.
Federer, like they will build a statue of outside of Wimbledon. And Wimbledon, when I was there, you would not have known that Djokovic had ever won the tournament because there's no signage, there's
Zero.
no,
But Roger is.
he's the guy.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
They never want to I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, I really don't want him to win 8 Wimbledons. I just let Roger have that.
Yeah.
So what does Joker get? What does he go after?
Just 25, right? He wants to be like have the greatest
One more slam.
more than Serena, and nobody really counts Margaret Court because she played in an era where the winner would go to the final the next year automatically.
Right.
So you can't even compare the two, but that's his motivation. I will say I still respect him as a player and effort.
Yeah.
I mean, put all that stuff aside.
You have to.
That match was still, for him to be able to go out there and hang with Carlos, who's clearly, the best in the world, the best athlete, and Sinners and Carlos. We haven't seen those two play in quite a while, but all their matches are just must see, and we got to see more of them playing each other this year. But I do like this kid Fonseca. I think he'll be top 20 by the end of the year, no doubt. Like the guy's, he's not like some lanky kid like Lerner Teen, the American, who's probably 98 pounds. This kid is cut from stone, and he's got all the shots, and he's so has so much presence already on camera, and being from Brazil, right? The fans love him, and they'll travel. So it's gonna be fun.
I think he just broke the top 100 for the first time. I think he's ranked 99th.
Yeah, it'd be
gonna
a shocking
climb the
move
rankings quickly
to finish top 20, but I think he'll do it. I really do. How about the clothing, guys? What do we think about the clothing at this tournament?
And I didn't mind Sinner's, what'd you call it, an ice cream?
Really?
The yellow. I didn't mind it.
Stick of butter.
And but that's trying to be very positive.
He looks
otherwise,
like a stick of butter. It's like a butter color.
Otherwise, where do we start?
What,
I mean,
yellow
Adidas.
and do yellow and like orange, as in his carrot top, do they go together? No, I don't.
Not really.
Yellow and orange. Name me a sports team. The Phoenix
Sheldon
Suns,
with
maybe.
his
Yellow and orange.
jazzercise combo with the headband and the sleeveless
Yeah.
top. I mean, it's just not.
And the curly hair.
I don't like the sleeveless shirts. I mean, I don't know why. I mean,
He can pull it off.
seeing too
though.
much armpit hair.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even care about that so much. It's just it doesn't lend itself to sort of the professional end of the sport. It seems like the type of thing you'd wear to train in.
Yeah. Agreed. I think
That's
you're
all.
right.
I'm not even saying you have to wear a collar. I just feel like leave the training gear for the training, and then let's have match gear.
There's also no sponsorship opportunities.
Right.
And the other side of that is that the only people that tend to wear the sleeveless stuff are the brand ambassadors that are head to toe. You know, like like Big Foe. He's
Lululemon now.
Lulu.
right, but he's head to toe, and he'll go sleeveless.
Right. Well, they're also like they're jacked. I mean, JJ,
sure it's
Ohio,
vanity,
Ohio
of
State
course,
guy
yeah.
there who's kind of faded of
But
late.
you're giving away real estate for your sponsorships,
right.
And
Tattoos,
even
temporary tats.
So, from that perspective, I always felt like it was sort of just silly. But I don't know. I just don't. It's just not a look that I can get behind. I mean, even if I was that age, and I had giant guns, I just don't know if that would necessarily be the route that I'd take.
Wouldn't you think these designers would have done their homework and come up with gear and outfits and color schemes that would be much more attractive versus I'm struggling to find any that I liked. I mean, I'm being nice by saying I like Coco Gauff's and Sinner's, yellow.
Well, right. And Djokovic has colors that resemble coffee cups.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Zverev's, trying to be nice to his sponsor, but
He was at least clean in this one. He wasn't wearing like the
Clean
the
being
wrestling
one
outfit.
color.
Yeah, the monochrome
very clean
jumper. I thought, Coco. I thought was actually spectacular. Tommy Paul, New Balance did the whole green and yellow thing as a nod to Australia. Tiafoe was wearing like this muted kind of sage color. It's weird. Like the Lululemon stuff is just monochrome.
Agreed.
not interesting.
The Nike was just abysmal, though. I mean, I
was
referred to it as my widespread panic all-time low. because
Well, I feel like they've tried to go so far from the traditional that they're going to wrap themselves back around to traditional.
right.
it's like they've lost their way, and it's like, we're back at white again.
And
Which is
They're
fine.
solid colors.
Yeah.
No Andre Agassi looking, the outfits.
Right. Because you think about Federer, like he always looked just to the nines.
Yeah. Bring back the Alessi's of the world, the Filas, the Sergio Tacchinis, if I'm pronouncing correctly.
Tashini.
Tashini?
Yeah.
Is it Tashini?
I think it's Tashini. I always said Tashini.
Bring back those sponsors who can have
Fila.
some creativity and think outside the box and
Alessi
give
was
us something to
always
be
awesome
excited
stuff.
about. Like,
Yeah.
Boast.
Oh, the best. Yeah.
yeah, both.
Somebody's going to come in and wear Boast.
I just ordered a jacket. They have like a nice quilted, zip-up quilted navy blue with the Boast here.
I love that. Like everybody thinks it's a cannabis leaf, and
It's a
it's
Japanese
it's
maple.
a Japanese maple leaf. Come on.
yeah.
Symbol
It's a
of
great
like,
brand.
strength and resilience. Anyway, yeah.
What are you going to do?
The ratings for the event were not great, right? 235,000 viewers. Think about that. That's a lot of effort for a pretty low yield if I'm ESPN, right? And they own that thing for a while.
They average 235,000
Average
per match.
235, yeah. But the height was like 400,000, right? A few years ago, or like the final, the women's final was 452,000, which was up because of the American. But the men, not so much. Overall, generally declining, down. It said 20% over last year. So
Part of that due to the time change, but I guess it's the same times as last year. So it's year over year, down 11%, 16% down from 2 years ago.
It's
I don't know.
The Australian Open is never going to be. It's like the nice kind of kickoff,
Right.
to the year.
It can't grab an audience for the simple fact of the time.
Right.
Tennis needs to be watched live.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch it in a rebroadcast.
Well, especially the end of the tournament. The first week is awesome because for Americans, you wake up, especially on the East Coast, or say you're in Europe, and there's matches that are still going on from the night
That's
before.
the investment
That's
too.
Really cool.
You're beginning to see the issue of broadcasting and licensing in tennis when they can't even. The Australian properties don't even have, like, they were simulcasting
Yes.
the Wii games that they were having people play to imitate the
On YouTube.
match, or they were simulcast. Somehow they were able to use Wii as the simulcast for the actual match, because they didn't own the broadcasting rights for it, and that's interesting. But that's a breakdown of there's no money.
Yeah. What is that? They're simulcasting.
Somebody didn't have money.
Wii tennis via
Did you ever play
YouTube.
Wii tennis? It was
once.
It was awful. Like it was like playing with a Weeble or something. Like a little. It had no arms, no legs, and just kind of like would hop around the screen indiscriminately.
But to not, I mean, channel. I don't know the property in Australia that has the rights to broadcast the games, but it was an interesting solution to the problem. But I don't know if it did anything for viewership.
I mean, they're doing that in the NFL this year. They're having these alternate casts on like Nickelodeon, right, for certain games to try to hook kids earlier, I guess.
Super Bowl have the Puppy Bowl, and there's all kinds of different broadcasts during the halftime show for the Super Bowl that are kid
really
oriented.
increasing like eyeballs in this, or growing the sport?
Well, if you've noticed, they've shifted a little bit over the past few years. Kendrick Lamar is the halftime entertainment this year.
Yep.
What's the point spread on the game, by the way?
I don't know, but I can find out. I can cue our intern real quick.
Zero.
I mean, is there any reason to vote or to bet against the Chiefs?
I don't think so.
I mean, they're getting help from the ref. They want the three-peat. I mean, it's just too much of a Cinderella story, right?
Camera.
Kansas City minus 1.5.
Oh, they're begging people to.
They're trying to get Eagles
between now and Sunday.
Long way to go. That'll adjust, right?
That's going to go up.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about the Australian Open is the crowds were pretty rowdy, and there's a lot of interaction between the players and the fans there. And I don't know if they're just getting overserved, or it's Melbourne is such a melting pot that there's a lot of Serbians at Joker's matches. There was the Thai individual that won his first match, and there was a couple thousand Thailand attendees that were there. Well, but at Danielle Collins' match, she beat the Australian female whose name slips me, and she was getting booed, and she literally kissed her ass, kissed her fingers, smacked her butt, and blew it towards the crowd to pretty much say, "Kiss my ass." And I don't think I'd seen that in a minute. Well, other than Joker, doing the whole finger to the, behind his ear to the crowd, like, "I can't hear you. Have a good night. Good night."
Shelton was, slamming the phone last year
that's right.
at the Australian Open.
But the crowds are a little rowdier, I guess, down there, and I think it got to the.
I think it
got to the players this year. It got to Joker, Ben Shelton, Danielle Collins.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing the interaction.
That's not showing very good mental fortitude on the players' behalf.
Yeah.
They've got to. I mean, if they're letting that stuff get at them, then that's a new thing for the sport. I mean, there's something about tennis players that was always interesting to me, is that they had just ice cold laser focus and could shut all of that out.
Right.
Because
if I'm your coach,
if you can't,
right,
you don't proceed in the sport. I mean, there's too much pressure.
I thought Danielle Collins handled it beautifully, because
I thought she's
hilarious. Like, "You guys are paying for my Bahama vacation. I love it. Thank you very much."
Yeah.
And now if you go on her Instagram, there's this video of her walking into her Bahama flat, going on the beach. She's dancing when she gets there. And you're
awesome.
kind of like, "Thanks, guys. Appreciate it."
She did handle it really well.
Yeah.
I was proud of her.
She's great.
I have no problems with her.
Yeah.
And she's only 30, right?
Yeah, remember she was going to retire at the end of last year, and then decided,
Not going to do
let's
that.
keep going.
I mean, not that age matters, but in Halep being 33, I'm just curious how far behind Collins is.
Man, well, we need to get an AI
Well, we should have
we need an
chat
intern.
bot.
an AI intern.
We need an intern is what we need. What's the point spread on the Super Bowl? How old is Daniel Collins? I don't know.
I did also really appreciate I see you've noted the Medvedev post-match conversation after playing the kid from Thailand. He's like, he can play like this every match. He can have money, girls, casino, everything.
Verbatim what he said.
Yeah, good stuff. He really is the best interview out there. I hope the guy sticks around. It seems like he's kind of looking around like, I'm not sure I want to do this for much longer. He just played last night. He played Stan.
Medvedev?
Medvedev played Stan Wawrinka, who's almost 40, and he beat him in 3 sets, and was really pumped afterward. But the commentary was like, dude, you're like, 5 in the world, and you should be owning this guy. Maybe you should, back off a bit. But
he is the best interview in the sport. I agree.
He's interesting. I don't know. He just doesn't do anything for me as a player. I don't know. I'm really kind of down in general with the men's players. They're just
You are?
well. The women's game is far more interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, the women's final was fantastic.
Agreed.
For Keys to come back like that, and I thought the
men's game, you got guys flopping on court,
in the women's final, you had this awesome juxtaposition of Keys crying in like joy, and at the same time Sabalenka just destroying her rackets on the sidelines in real time. It was great.
She was pissed off,
but people remember that.
Not
She
happy.
was.
Yeah, I mean, didn't see that. Didn't see Madison Keys winning that match.
No.
Didn't see Ariana Sabalenka destroying. And then did she do like she did that other time when she went and destroyed all of her rackets
In the locker room.
In the
I
locker
don't know about the
room.
locker room, but I thought, it's healthy. Like everybody, has that desire to destroy a racket after a moment like that.
Yeah.
And she's just being a little human, which people appreciate these days in the era of Sinner and Rybakina, who are just like baseline bots that are boring to watch.
You don't find it childish and immature?
Well, I don't know. It's okay. I'm good with it. You need a little.
It's okay
spice.
to destroy property, potentially
Well,
splinter and hit a fan
Destroying
and injure them.
a concrete tennis court
Norm,
where Djokovic
I'm not-
did splinter the net post against Alcaraz 2 years ago at Wimbledon, which I thought was disgraceful, but it's different.
And they're hitting tennis balls into the crowd and taking fans out.
Yeah.
That's been happening the last couple of years.
Well, it's time to spice things up a little.
Well, it's like
tennis needs some help.
then there's the social media post of the guy playing tennis with his buddy, and he keeps hitting him with the ball on purpose
Yeah.
to beat him. I mean, to me, that's hysterical.
It's a tactic that works.
Yeah. I mean, you can't defend that.
No, you can't.
I have one last question for you two who have kids that are in their late teens, early 20s. The term, it just hits different. I mean, are kids still saying that? Because that was the Australian Open's like slogan this year. It just hits different. And I'm like, I think that was a saying 1 or 2 years ago, but it's like saying we're sitting here chillaxing. Like, I don't think
No,
people
it's-
say that anymore, do they? Or are they
It's
No,
different.
Baxel says something like it's mid.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So mid.
so mid?
Yeah, that's totally mid.
Yeah. No, I need a complete,
But they're not saying
to
like
English
Riz.
dictionary.
They're not talking
Okay.
about like
Degree.
So I'm asking
he's
the wrong
rizzed up
people.
and stuff. They're not getting into that. slang.
I think you're right. They would not say,
Oh, this Portland Pale Ale just hits different.
right. I mean, that was a few years ago. I think maybe around like, this new organic cannabis I had, like it's
Right.
different,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like that was
might say-
pandemic,
Yeah.
I do too.
and yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, maybe just another way the Australian Open dropped the ball. Like this drink, they're just copycatting, the honey deuce
Didn't
from
Nikki-
the U.S. Open and the Pims, whatever it is, the Pims.
Right.
What do you call the Pims? Is it called the Pims?
Just,
Pims and
Pims.
ginger.
Yeah.
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 With their drink, which is called the Lemon Ace, I think.
Well, when I drank, I enjoyed those quite a bit.
I'll bet.
Well, they're,
Highlight of
they're
my year.
easy. They're
Oh,
so
yeah.
easy.
Down the hatch.
You can have half a bottle of Pims, and you're not even.
No.
Right.
Wow.
It's just a happy, warm glow.
It is.
It really is. But
telling
getting
you.
there is not hard. It's just
Sometime we will sneak onto, we don't have to sneak there, but we will get onto Henman's Hill and we'll do we'll record a podcast drinking some
Amen.
Pims watching tennis. Like that's about
We
as
will
good
have
as it
made it
gets.
when that happens.
Yeah.
And our breaking back ball caps.
Maybe Lone Pine can get into the
Wristbands.
Pimm's game, like a Pimm's infused beer.
Pimm's
They're in the
gin?
vodka game.
A Pimm's
They're
and
doing well in the
ginger in a
vodka game.
can. That would be deadly.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please.
That would be deadly.
All right,
Good things are happening here.
JP, if you're listening, and I know you are,
Yes.
Pimm's in a
Pimm's in a
can.
cup.
Well, they were putting Negronis in a can,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's
Everything's in a can.
yeah.
Jameson's and ginger ale, right? Jack and Coke.
in a
I
can.
quit drinking so long ago. I don't even.
Yeah.
I missed craft brewing. I've missed canned beverages. I've missed all of it.
Good thing. I mean, with these tariffs, you never know. You may not get your,
Right.
Oh,
CC
God.
and ginger.
Yeah, I think the tariffs are. I think people are. Yeah, I don't even know what to think about any of that. We can't get into politics on this.
Right. All right. Well, I'm excited, guys. We've got, we already have guests queuing up for 25.
We do.
It's going to be a phenomenal year. I am headed down. Somebody has to do it, but I'm going to go down to Del Rey and see our friend John Butler and Mikey Aronson and Brian Powell, and
From
hopefully
the field,
watch.
reporting from the field.
I'll
Yeah.
be reporting from the field as an American male. Taylor Fritz goes for the three-peat, which hasn't happened at a ATP event in, I want to say, like 20 years.
Is it Delray Beach Open? Delray Open?
The DBO, yeah.
DBO.
I think it's, Delray Beach Open.
Can you imagine the amount of cocaine that tournament had back in the 80s?
Right.
Well, that's John. John would know. He probably was running to get it for some of the players.
That was just a hot happening time.
But it's a good field. Tiafo, Opelka, I think Tommy Paul, Fritz, Nishikori, and then you got the old guys like Delpo and doing their old guy tennis thing like a few days before it really starts. So
Did you say you're going first week or second week?
it's really only one week, so I'll
Oh,
be
the
there
tournament's 1 week? Oh,
Monday, and then it goes. The final will be Sunday. I won't be there. I'm leaving before the weekend, but I'll see the first 4 days.
Nice.
And
Good time of the year to get out of Maine.
yeah, amen. Yeah. Early apology to my wife. I hope the weather's good. You're not shoveling while I'm gone. That never works out too
Shouldn't
well.
have said that.
But
You should never have said that.
it does motivate her to move south. So
Edit
it's
that out. Edit that out.
No, whenever I leave for something, it tends to snow
Yeah.
like 3 feet.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yep.
I was at the gym this morning, and Daryl said, "Yeah, I saw your wife out there shoveling. She didn't look very happy."
Bring her some gifts from the DBO.
I should.
Bring her some
I love you, honey.
DBO silver.
Yeah. Maybe some empty beer cans. Well, this has been a great discussion. I
Number
love
10 in the can.
our,
That's right. Double digits.
chats. Next time we'll have a focused guest to drive our conversation, but pretty lucky to have these big stories land in our lap today. So
Sure are.
That was a good
Thank
discussion.
you, Lone Pine.
thank you, Lone Pine. Thank you, Studio. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to Breaking Back on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to follow us on X and Instagram at Breaking Back Pod.